started here. We should be good. Trina, hey, girl, hey, Squabble. Okay, Tiffany, we should be live over there. You see me? It's live from my end. It says. Okay. Ooh, today, y'all. Possibly the new moon today. We'll be watching tonight. If it is, the Sabbath shifts. We should be able to see her shortly after the sun goes down. If she shows tonight. If she shows tonight, that means the Sabbath shift to Monday. So we'll be out watching tonight. All right, y'all. All right. All right, beautiful people. Happy Monday. I hope you all enjoyed your weekend, your Sabbath day of rest. It is Monday, April the 12th, 2021, day 125 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, another 3-year consecutive day count, day 794. Blessings, Levine. Okay, cool, Tiffany. Okay. Save it in. All right, pull this up. All right, y'all. Mom, shalom, shalom. Aliyah, peace and blessings. Belinda Brown, shalom. Joanne, shalom. Tiffany, you in. Shalom, shalom. Sawubona. All right, y'all. Why Monday? What about Saturday? It's 2 months since we observed the Sabbath. We observed the Sabbath yesterday. Let me make sure I understand your question, Aliyah. Because remember, see, I'm not sure if you missed it. Because remember how we're observing, actually going outside, watching the moon cycles. And based on my tracking, when the Sabbath comes in, it's always the different moon phases and stuff. Remember, if everything else rotates on the Gregorian or the heathen calendar, I don't really use heathen a lot, but on the Gregorian calendar, the Sabbath should also shift if we're using the Gregorian calendar. I know I explained it quite a few times. Maybe you missed them times. But we are observing it according to how Enoch teaches us. We'll skip Saturday for a few months now. What I meant is we skipped Saturday for a few months. We skipped Saturday as in we showed up and we actually did the reading because we were here this past, because the Sabbaths are based on the moon cycles. Like whatever Yahuah does, we can see it in nature. So no matter where we are on the face of the earth, even if we're lost for time, if we understand nature, we know that Yahuah set everything in place with nature. So if we're ever lost, we should always be able to find our way by looking at his faithful witness in the sky, the sun and the moon, right? So with the moon cycle, the Sabbaths change with the moon cycles. Because remember, the moons, they help you to recognize the months, right? Moon comes from the word month, right? It changes. So you got to look at it all through time. Remember how Dane talks about how they would seek to change times and days and stuff. They throw us out of whack with Yahuwah's natural calendar. But as we're coming back to him and we're returning, he's revealing certain things, and it's been in front of our face the whole time. So we adjust the Sabbaths. I want to do like a long lesson on it. I'll probably do I'm going to go back and find the ones, because I know I talk extensively about it on quite a few videos. I'm going to see if I can find all of those and maybe pull all of those together and make them one. If I'm having a hard time trying to go through all my videos, I may just record one and go through everything. Those are going to probably be about 30, 40 minutes long. But yeah, the Sabbath changes. Remember, everything that the Jewish people is doing, just about everything they're doing it backwards. Like they're keeping it, but they're changing things and they're doing it backwards, right? So they keep it set on one day, Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. Some people even do it Saturday, right? But if everything else changes, like your birthday, think about your birthday. Think about Christmas and even the days that we stop celebrating. Your birthday, my birthday is March the 30th every year. No matter what year it is, it's March the 30th. The day is March the 30th. But March the 30th doesn't always land on a Friday. It doesn't always land on a Sunday. It rotates throughout the week every single year, right? And I realized it was the same thing with the Sabbath. I realized they changed everything else and they rotated everything else. Christmas is always December 25th, but it changes the day of the week. Like sometimes it's Sunday, sometimes Christmas is Wednesday, sometimes Christmas is Friday. When I began to realize, I'm like, well, that's interesting. I started looking at all the other holidays. Everything else rotates. If they done screwed with this calendar, the one that we're using, they removed 14 days one time. They didn't add it 2 months. I mean, how is it still Friday, sundown to Saturday, sundown or Saturday, right? So it has to rotate. Now, Yahuah's calendar itself doesn't rotate. If we kept Yahuah's time perfectly, it would be the same time every week. But since they kind of superimpose another calendar over Yahuah's calendar, okay, let me see if I can make this okay. So say this is Yahuah's calendar, right? And this is the Gregorian calendar superimposed over Yahuah's calendar, but they stopped teaching us about the foundation, this, and they got everybody looking at this. Now we're going to superimpose this over this, and we're going to cause this to rotate, right? So Yahuah's calendar is doing this, while this new calendar that they taught everybody about is kind of intermingling, but it's steady moving, right? But Yahuah's is not moving. So if we're going to stay on Yahuah's calendar, according to this, we have to see, watch how my fingers go in between Yahuah's calendar, right? This is Yahuah's calendar. This is the Gregorian calendar. This, I don't know, guys, this is the best example I can think of right now. So with Yahuah's calendar, so while this is rotating, say the Sabbath is here on Yahuah's calendar, right? So we would have to make sure, see how the Gregorian calendar is moving? In order to keep this, we have to keep changing these every time we get here in order to make sure we're keeping it on the right day, right? So as the Gregorian calendar moves, Yahuah stays still. But every time this gets here, we need to change it here. And then we need to change it here. And then we need to change it here, right? Yahuah's never changed, but we have to change it on this in order to stay consistent on Yahuah's calendar. I hope that kind of makes, I don't know, I hope that made sense, right? Yeah, so I'll set up, like I said, I'll try and go through all my previous videos and see if I can pull all of those times out. But I've talked about it on so many of them. But some of them I did some really good detail. But like I said, if I'm having a hard time pulling everything, and then, I don't know, it may just be easy. You know, I may just do another one. I think it'll be a lot easier for me just to do another one, because it'll take me a while to pull that stuff and try to merge the videos together. Then sometimes YouTube, I think I'm gonna just do another video, Sabbath video. I don't know when I'm gonna do it, but I'll do it soon, y'all. I don't know, but I'll do it. So, but yeah, we do it like that. Okay, you'll be observing the Feast of Aviv this moon month. Okay, Joanne. Also, some people are also celebrating Passover this month as well. Their time is a little off. It's okay. They're trying to get it right. But we know, even in scripture, remember, and I don't think it's wrong that people who are celebrating it this month, it's okay, right? Everybody's learning. But we also know that during in the scriptures, when, remember, they asked Moses, they said, okay, well, what about the ones during Passover time? What about the ones who were unclean and the ones who were away? What about them? Them not celebrating Passover? Should we not be able to partake in this feast? You know, he went and he saw y'all about it. And y'all told Moses, he said, they're right. They should be able to partake. He said, so tell them they're going to celebrate it on the second month of the year at the same time. Like the same rules and regulations apply for the first month of Passover, right? On the 14th day, then you begin with Feast of Unleavened Bread. Tell them to do the same thing, but they have to apply the same rules and regulations like they would if it was the first month. So you got a lot of people celebrating it this month as well, right? And that's okay. All right. So with that being said, Josiah, shalom, shalom. According to Enoch, this year past was the 13th month. Joanne, give me the place where you found it at. Because I know a couple people said that. I haven't necessarily found a 13th month. It's a few people that said it, and I even looked at Enoch. Maybe I'm reading it wrong. So share with me the passage you're talking about, and I'll go back and look into that because from my study, it tells us that every year is a perfect 52 weeks, right? Every year is a perfect 12 months. That's what the book of Enoch says to me. I must have missed the 13th month. You gotta give me that reference when you get a chance, right? If you don't find it while we're up here live to put it in here, you're gonna probably have to find today's video and post it in the comment section. That way I can see it. But I'm gonna check it out. Like I said, maybe I missed it, but from my studies and what I looked at, and I studied it a lot, I could have missed it. But let me check it. Give it to me because I heard a couple people say it. Okay. All right, y'all. Dana, her girl, hey. All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get started. We are in 1 Kings chapter 4. All right, I got this ready over here. Yeah, 300. Yeah, perfect 52 weeks, Dana. Thank you. 364 days, and yeah, that's what it says. So I would appreciate the reference, Joanne. Thank you, Dana. All right. Move this over here. Yes.
Look, I take my pull-up.
Very good, too. Okay.
Mom, now I'm get my skates.
In a little while. Close that, please. All right, y'all. 1 Kings chapter 4. King Solomon now ruled over all Israel, and these were his high officials. Azariah, son of Zadok, was the priest. Elihoreph and Ahijah, the sons of Shisha, were court secretaries. Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud, was the royal historian. Benaiah, son of Jehodiah, was commander of the army. Zadok and Abiathar were priests. Azariah, son of Nathan, was in charge of the district governors. Zabud, son of Nathan, a priest, was a trusted advisor to the king. Ahishar was manager of the palace property. Adoniram, son of Abda, was in charge of forced labor. Solomon had 12 district governors who were over all of Israel. They were responsible for providing food for the king's household. Each of them arranged 12 provisions for 1 month of the year. These are the names of the 12 governors: Ben-Hur in the hill country of Ephraim, Ben-Deker in Makaz, Shelbim, Beth-Shemesh, and Elam, Bethlehem, Ben-Hesed in Arubah, including Soko and all the land of Hefer, Ben-Aminadab and all of Naphath Dor. He was married to Tapheth, one of Solomon's daughters. Benah, son of Alud, in Tanak and Megiddo, all of Bethshan near Zarethan below Jezreel, and all of the territory from Bethshan to Abel Meholoah and over Jokmeam. I'm sorry, y'all, if I mess up these names. I know I'm probably mispronouncing some. Ben-Geber and Ramoth Gilead, including the towns of Jair, named for Jair of the tribe of Manasseh and Gilead, and in the Argob region of Bashan, including 60 large fortified towns with bronze bars on their gates. Ahinadab, son of Edo, in Mahanaim. Ahimaaz in Naphtali. He was married to Basemath, another of Solomon's daughters. Bana, son of Hushi, in Asher, and in Aloth. Jehoshaphat, son of Paruah, in Issachar. Shimei, son of Elah, in Benjamin. Geber, son of Uri, in the land of Gilead, including the territories of King Sihon of the Amorites and King Og of Bashan. There was also one governor over the land of Judah. The people of Judah and Israel were as numerous as the sand on the seashore. They were very contented with plenty to eat and drink. Solomon ruled over all the kingdoms from the Euphrates in the north to the land of the Philistines and the border of Egypt in the south. The conquered peoples of the lands sent tribute money to Solomon and continued to serve him throughout his lifetime. Very good. The daily food requirements for Solomon's palace were 150 bushels of choice flour and 300 bushels of meal, also 10 oxen from the fattening pens, 20 pasture-fed cattle, 100 sheep or goats, as well as deer, gazelles, roe, deer, and choice poultry. Solomon's dominion extended over all the kingdoms west of the Euphrates River, from Tifsah to Gaza, and there was peace on all his borders. During the lifetime of Solomon, all of Judah and Israel lived in peace and safety. And from Dan in the north to Beersheba in the south, each family had its own home and garden. Solomon had 4,000 stalls for his chariot horses, and he had 12,000 horses. The district governors faithfully provided food for King Solomon and his court. Each made sure nothing was lacking during the month assigned to him. They also bought the necessary barley and straw for the royal horses in the stables. Yahuah gave Solomon very great wisdom and understanding, and knowledge as vast as the sands of the seashore. In fact, his wisdom exceeded that of all the wise men of the east and the wise men of Egypt. He was wiser than anyone else, including Ethan the Ezrahite and the sons of Mahol, Heman, Calcol, and Darda. His fame spread throughout all the surrounding nations. He composed some 3,000 proverbs and wrote 1,005 songs. He could speak with authority about all kinds of plants, from the great cedar of Lebanon to the tiny hyssop that grows from cracks in the wall. He could also speak about animals, birds, small creatures, and fish. And kings from every nation sent their ambassadors to listen to the wisdom of Solomon. Yahuah will just give us a touch of that. 1 Kings chapter 5. King Hiram of Tyre had always been a loyal friend of David. When Hiram learned that David's son Solomon was the new king of Israel, he sent ambassadors to congratulate him. Then Solomon sent his messengers back to Hiram. You know that my father David was not able to build a temple to honor the name of Yahuah his God because of the many wars waged against him by surrounding nations. He could not build until Yahuah gave him victory over all his enemies. But now Yahuah my God has given me peace on every side. I have no enemies and all is well. So I am planning to build a temple to honor the name of Yahuah my God, just as he had instructed my father David. For Yahuah told him, your son, whom I will place on your throne, will build the temple to honor my name. So we read before when Yahuah was talking to King David, giving him this promise that Solomon would build the temple. He told him that David would not be able to build a temple because he was a man of war, right? So that meant a lot of time. Some people interpret it differently, but according to King Solomon, he explained what that meant just a little bit more. He said he could not build until Yahuah gave him victory over all his enemies, because you can't build in a time of war, right? So,
Mommy,
yes.
Dad gone?
No, Dad is still upstairs. You didn't walk past him? Yeah, you had to. He's still upstairs.
In the bathroom.
Yeah, he probably in the bathroom shower. Okay.
And Dad ready to my skates.
He'll get your skates in a second, boo. So you can't build during a time of war, right? So if he had decided to do that, he would have to cut his manpower in half, and they probably would have been defeated. So that's why Yahuah said, in Solomon's time, we're going to do this. But I'm going to honor your heart and what you wanted to do for me. I'm going to let your son do it, because he's going to have peace on all sides, right? Okay. Let me go back to verse 3. You know that my father David was not able to build a temple to honor the name of Yahuah his God because of the many wars waged against him by surrounding nations. He could not build until Yahuah gave him victory over all his enemies. But now Yahuah my God has given me peace on every side. I have no enemies and all is well. So I am planning to build a temple to honor the name of Yahuah my God, just as he had instructed my father David. For Yahuah told him, your son, whom I've placed on your throne, will build the temple to honor my name. Therefore, please command that cedars from Lebanon be cut for me. Let my men work alongside yours, and I will pay your men whatever wages you ask. As you know, there is no one among us who can cut timber like you Sidonians. When Hiram received Solomon's message, he was very pleased and said, Praise Yahuwah today for giving David a wise son to be king of the great nation of Israel. Then he sent his reply to Solomon. I have received your message, and I will supply all the cedar and cypress timber you need. My servants will bring the logs from the Lebanon mountains to the Mediterranean Sea and make them into rafts and float them along the coast to wherever you choose. Then we will break the rafts apart so you can carry the logs away. You can pay me by supplying me with food for my household. So Hiram supplied as much cedar and cypress timber as Solomon desired. In return, Solomon sent him an annual payment of 100,000 bushels of wheat for his household and 110,000 gallons of pure olive oil. So Yahuwah gave wisdom to Solomon just as he had promised, and Hiram and Solomon made a formal alliance of peace. Then King Solomon conscripted a labor force of 30,000 men from all of Israel. He sent them to Lebanon in shifts, 10,000 every month, so that each man would be 1 month in Lebanon and 2 months at home. Adonai Ram was in charge of this forced labor. Solomon also had 70,000 common laborers, 80,000 quarry workers in the hill country, and 3,600 foremen to supervise the work. At the king's command, they quarried large blocks of high-quality stone and shaped them to make the foundation of the temple. Men from the city of Gibor helped Solomon and Hiram's builders prepare the timber and stone for the temple. All right, y'all, last chapter for today. Remember, we already went through the Legends of the Jews where it gave a whole bunch of detail on King Solomon's reign and even the time when he was deposed of his throne and he was like a madman and people didn't recognize him. He was treated poorly. That's all there. So I believe his name is in the title of the videos. Anything with King Solomon's name in it, whether it's he the king of the demons or over Asmodeus and all that, that's the portion where we're reading about King Solomon. So go back if you haven't heard it or haven't read it yourself or haven't listened to it yourself. If you want to hear me read it, go to my video. If not, you can go to the description box and find it. Okay. Last chapter, 1 Kings chapter 6. It was in mid-spring in the month of Ziv, during the 4th year of Solomon's reign, that he began to construct the temple of Yahuwah. This was the 480th year after the people of Israel were rescued from their slavery in the land of Egypt. The temple that King Solomon built for Yahuwah was 90 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 45 feet high. The entry room at the front of the temple was 30 feet wide, running across the entire width of the temple. It projected outward 15 feet and from the front of the temple. Solomon also made narrow recessed windows throughout the temple. He built a complex of rooms against the outer walls of the temple, all the way around the sides and rear of the building. The complex was 3 stories high, the bottom floor being 7.5 feet wide, the second floor 9 feet wide, and the top floor 10.5 feet wide. The rooms were connected to the walls of the temple by beams resting on ledges built out from the wall, so the beams were not inserted into the walls themselves. The stones used in the construction of the temple were finished at the quarry, so there was no sound of hammer, axe, or any other iron tool at the building site. The entrance to the bottom floor was on the south side of the temple. Bella, come stop this. Hurry up, that's too long. Hurry up. That's way too long to heat that pizza up. Hurry up. Stop it. See it? The cheese is bubbling. Just open the door. Open the door. Sheesh. Then Yahuwah gave this message to Solomon. Concerning this temple you are building, if you keep all my decrees and regulations and obey all my commands, I will fulfill through you the promise I made to your father David. I will live among the Israelites, and I will never abandon my people.
I cannot get hot.
Okay. All right. So remember this. This is always a promise Yahuah has said to us. He said we will not come up to him, but he will come down to us. It's always been his promise, right? Listen, I'll read it again. And this, you'll read this all the way through the Old Testament, right? Yahuah always says, I am going to come and make my home with you. Not that I'm going to bring you up to me. Now, some people that pass on ahead before that day he descends from his throne, they go to paradise. But when he descends with us, he bring all the righteous with him, right? That's what he constantly says. Then Yahuah gave this message to Solomon concerning this temple you are building. If you keep all my decrees and regulations and obey all my commands, I will fulfill through you the promise I made to your father David. I will live among the Israelites and will never abandon my people Israel. So Solomon finished building the temple. The entire inside, from floor to ceiling, was paneled with wood. He paneled the walls and ceilings with cedar, and he used planks of cypress for the floors. He partitioned off an inner sanctuary, the most holy place, at the far end of the temple. It was 30 feet deep and was paneled with cedar from floor to ceiling. The main room from the temple outside the most holy place was 60 feet long. Cedar paneling completely covered the stone walls throughout the temple, and the paneling was decorated with carvings of gourds and open flowers. He prepared the inner sanctuary at the far end of the temple, where the Ark of Yahuah's covenant would be placed. This inner sanctuary was 30 feet long, 30 feet wide, and 30 feet high. He overlaid the inside with solid gold. He also overlaid the altar made of cedar. Then Solomon overlaid the rest of the temple's interior with solid gold, and he made gold chains to protect the entrance to the most holy place. So he finished overlaying the entire temple with gold, including the altar that belonged to the most holy place. He made 2 cherubim of wild olive wood, each 15 feet tall, and placed them in their inner sanctuary. The wingspan of each of the cherubim was 15 feet, each wing being 7.5 feet long. The 2 cherubim were identical in shape and size. Each was 15 feet tall. He placed them side by side in the inner sanctuary of the temple. Their outspread wings reached from wall to wall, while their inner wings touched at the center of the room. He overlaid the 2 cherubim with gold. He decorated all the walls of the inner sanctuary and the main room with carvings of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers. He overlaid the floor in both rooms with gold. For the entrance to the inner sanctuary, he made double doors of olive wood and 5-sided doorposts. For the entrance to the inner sanctuary, he made double doors of wild olive wood with 5-sided doorposts. These double doors were decorated with carvings of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers. The doors, including the decorations of the cherubim and palm trees, were overlaid with gold. He made 4-sided doorposts of wild olive wood for the entrance to the temple. There were 2 folding doors of cypress wood, and each door was hinged to fold back upon itself. These doors were decorated with carvings of cherubim, palm trees, and open flowers, all overlaid evenly with gold. The walls of the inner courtyard were built so that there was 1 layer of cedar beams between every 3 layers of finished stone. The foundation of Yahuah's temple was laid in mid-spring in the month of Ziv during the 4th year of Solomon's reign. The entire building was completed in every detail by mid-autumn in the month of Bul during the 11th year of his reign. So it took 7 years to build the temple. All right, beautiful people. So that was our last chapter for today's reading. That was 1 Kings chapter 4, 5, and 6. Very good, baby girl. All right. Wonder what the palm trees and open flowers represent. I don't know. It's probably just the beauty of nature. Greetings, Uncle Nathaniel. You know, they use they beautify their things with things that they saw in nature. That's what I just always thought. Okay, y'all. Daniel. We start today with Daniel. And so also, guys, when we get to the book of Daniel, like we did last time, I think every time that we read it from here on, when we get to Daniel, we're going to add in the portions that they once had in, and then they took out, and then they added them back in again. It's called the Apocrypha. Well, because there's a lot of books of the Apocrypha, but when you say Apocrypha, some people think it's just like those few books that they had in and took out and put back in again. But it's actually more, but the main ones is what you will see added back into Bibles now, but it's actually more than that, right? So when we get to Daniel, there is 2 other books that they added in there. One is called Bel and the Dragon and Susanna. Don't let the name Bel and the Dragon throw you off. It's not really about a dragon, right? But it's actually about the king during Daniel's time, and the dragon is referring to the false god that he had set up and worship, right? And how Daniel revealed to him that it was indeed a false god, right? So that's what that is. So if you got it and you was too scared to read it, don't be, right? Because I think that name is a gatekeeper to keep people out from reading it. And I get it, because I was like, "Whoo, what is this?" When I first got it. Let me tell y'all, I was so, I tell you, just by some of the things, you know how we used to call everything the devil. Not that I used to call everything the devil when I was deep in church, because I didn't, but some things I realized was a part of me. I'm like, "Oh, I can't believe I used to do that," right? But even after detoxing from the church for quite a few years and just read my Bible and talking to y'all, even when I ordered my copy of the Apocrypha, I kind of look at the table of contents. I was like, Bel and the Dragon. I'm like, what is this? And then I was like, "Oh, Father, was I supposed to order this Bible?" I said, "Is this Bible really of you?" And it took me, look, I had it for a few months before, and I wouldn't even read the Bible. Look, let me tell you how much of a fool I was, y'all. Look, I started thinking, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I done bought something accursed into my house." So I was like, "Man, but I just paid $100 for this Bible." I was like, "Father, listen, sanctify this." And they probably up looking at me like, "Would y'all look at this girl? Look at her. Look." They probably sitting back and getting a giggle, right? A lot of us do it, right? When we don't know, right? Because a lot of times we're afraid of the unknown. But I really felt strongly that Yahuah was urging me to get it. Like, and I know, like, deep down in my shana na, and I just try and put it off. If I'm not too sure, I just put it off, and I'll try and forget about it. But if you keep coming back, I was like, okay, clearly, Father, you're trying to tell me something. So when I got myself a version of the Bible, although you can purchase an Apocrypha by itself, I decided to get the Sefer version, but even after I got it, it was a whole month before I really cracked it open for real. When I cracked it open, I went through and I read the introduction and all that stuff, and it kept on pulling me towards it. I just had to solve my curiosity. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna solve this right now. I'm just going to open this. I was like, Father, before I read this, I said, first of all, protect my spirit. Keep me from being possessed by anything that may be in that. But I'm just, I just need to check it and make sure it's okay. Because if this is something really accursed, I got to get it out of my house. Before I go in there and read, it's an extension of Daniel talking about the king and how he worshiped. I laughed at myself so hard, and I couldn't believe that I had this Bible for a couple of months, and I was so scared to open it and read what was in. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. And so that kind of taught me a little lesson, right? The whole little rigmarole and situation with myself, scared to read something that was in it. I'm like, Father, clearly, if you're taking me to it, you're going to help me get through it, right? So I'm going to read this, but I'm reading it carefully, word by word, like, okay, that's okay. That word is okay. Okay, I don't see no symbols and stuff in here. Okay, all right, who's this girl? Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so this is not incantations and stuff. Like, seriously, you gotta work through all that fear. You gotta work through all that fear a lot of times when you come out of the church, especially. Well, I'm not saying everybody had that, but in my experience, Tiffany, I was like that when I first heard about Black Root Science. Girl, I'm telling you, we gotta get past all that religious and scary stuff that they just set over us. I'm telling you, it's a form of bondage, y'all. It holds you in a certain place where you cannot shake yourself free until you realize, oh, wait a minute, this is really keeping me from really knowing y'all. It keeps you in a place of fear, and I better not do that because I'm surely going to go to hell. right? And when Yahuah is trying to coax you out of there, listen, come here. Come here. No, listen, no. Listen, I'm not going to hurt you. Come here. I need you to look at this, right? And so now when I see stuff, I'm telling y'all, look, y'all, I'm that one who got set free. I'm coming back to get y'all. Look, ain't nobody, I'm telling y'all, they told us that there was somebody standing out here with a gun, but I'm telling y'all, ain't nobody out there. Now, mind you, when I was first going out there, I'm like, look, they said somebody with a gun. So I'm like this, trying to look, stick my finger out. You know, I ain't see a bullet. I ain't hear a bullet. Hold on, y'all. Wait. Hold on. I'm taking a risk now, sticking my head out here, because if they was waiting for me to stick my head out, y'all gonna know if I hit the ground. So I'm gonna just, before I stick my head out, I stick my foot out. I go look. Ain't nobody outside the door. I'm like, well, maybe they're waiting around the corner. Like I went through that whole slow process of easing out. Make sure, hey, there's nobody out here. Wait a minute. There's like a whole nother world. Did y'all know there's actually a sun outside? Like, seriously, we're kept in darkness and in bondage. I hated that life. I hated it. There's so much freedom in being able just to talk to y'all with not thinking that everything you do gonna condemn your soul to hell. I'm telling you, it's just like, there's so much freedom. But I completely get you, Tiffany. I told you, because the name of the book, Black Root Science, is a gatekeeper. When church people hear that, they're going to go to that same mindset. Oh, this is witchcraft. Oh, they're conjuring. I'm telling you. Yes, thank you. It's an effort to keep you from finding the truth and keep you in bondage. Slave master. Oh, that perfect words. Thank you, Uncle James Brown. I'm telling you. Okay. So I was saying that because when we actually get to the portion in Daniel, we're actually going to read through Bel and the Dragon so you can see what's in there. You're going to really like it if you don't already have one, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Daniel. The most distinguished member of the Babylonian diaspora was Daniel. Though not a prophet, he was surpassed by none in wisdom, piety, and good deeds. His firm adherence to Hebrew he displayed from his early youth. When a page at the royal court, he refused to partake of the bread, wine, and oil of the heathen, even though the enjoyment of them was not prohibited by the law. In general, his prominent position at the court was maintained at a cost of many a hardship, for he and his companions, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, were envied their distinctions by numerous enemies who sought to compass their ruin. Once they were accused before King Nebuchadnezzar of leading an unchaste life, the king resolved to order their execution. But Daniel and his friends mutilated certain parts of their bodies, and so demonstrated how unfounded were the charges against them. As a youth, Daniel gave evidence of his wisdom when he convicted two old sinners of having testified falsely against Susanna, as beautiful as she was good. That's another book. It's right after Bel and the Dragon. This is exactly what it's talking about. So if you read this, you will realize there's more to the story. And we actually find that portion in the Apocrypha. The book is called Susanna. It's a really good book too. And it's Susanna, Judith. Okay, and I know I mentioned this before. Okay, so the way the Bible has been canonized, which say they drive that point to stay away from other books in the seminary. I've heard that before too, right? And that kind of works into my point I'm about to say, right? So the way that the Bible, the Holy Bible, the 66 books was canonized, it was canonized in a way not only to kind of get rid of some truth or hide truth or push it away, but it also removes the things that the women do, right? So it makes it only seem like Yahuah uses men, and that it is so left-sided and so uneven to where even women grow. Even I grew up, I'm like, well, Father, I know you love me, but why is it always not that I was like, not that I have a problem, because if that's your order, okay, but I don't understand why you will allow them to treat us this way if you love us just as much, right? I said, Yah is so sweet. He said, I do love you just as much. And he said, and I am not one-sided. right? He said that there's a balance in everything with me, right? He did not create men to lord over the women. Neither did he create women to lord over the men, because you have imbalances in both places. And that right there is another thing that Israel needs to work out and needs to come to grips with, right? Because a lot of our men, even those that are coming out of the church, they pull it right from the church. They come out of the church, but they don't get rid of that portion. They still want to lord over the women and say, oh, women have no place to teach and all that stuff. But first of all, you got that from Paul. Yahuah never said that. You need to do a little bit more research into Paul and who he was and what he was really trying to do, even after he had his little experience on the road to Damascus. But I'm gonna leave that right there. I'm gonna just leave that right there. But what we'll find out when we go into some of these older manuscripts on how much Yahuah actually used his women, even how he used his women to rule, especially when the men were out of place, right? And they ruled together. There was no unevenness, no one-sidedness with Yah, right? Even when Deborah ruled, right? And I believe if you read, it mentions her husband in the Holy Bible, but they ruled together. Although Deborah, she was kind of like the spokesperson, the one who giving it, but her husband was right there beside her. You know, he did working in the temple. I think in here it called him an ignoramus. But he was working right beside his wife and taking care of things in the temple, right? But there was a spouse always there, whether you saw them sitting beside them or in the background somewhere, they were there, right? And that's what we don't really see from the canonized book of the Bible, right? And so people get wrong understandings and wrong interpretations of it, right? And so wherever you see women being oppressed, especially if it's some of our people, and you see it a lot in like the Hebrew Israelite camps and stuff, at least from what I've seen and I've observed, they actually, a lot of them don't really speak well about the daughters of Zion. They actually disrespect them openly, and that's disgusting. There is no way you can believe that Yahuah is with you while you're openly dishonoring his daughters that way, right? Even some of them dishonoring their own wives, like calling them out of their names. I'm like, some of that, it shook me. I'm like, they're doing this, and this was recent. Like my mouth was wide open. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh, I couldn't even get through some of the videos. I was like, this is, y'all, you can't be in the midst of that. But they have a huge following. Like that's okay. Even in just natural, and just in natural, you only got to be a part of religion. Some of the stuff you have to know that that's not okay. Like, how is that honoring your neighbor, right? Your wife, but anyway, I'm telling you. So when you pull up some of these older manuscripts, even that teaching, that improper teaching, that false teaching of how women are under men and stuff, they're equal. You cannot have one without the other. Like even with the example of the socket and the plug, you want light? Well, you need both. They're both equally valuable, and one alone is not going to give you the result that you need, right? The same thing with having children. You need both. Neither one is less important. The man carries the seed, but the woman carries everything to bring it to life. The woman is a portal to bring life into this world, right? And you got guys that are talking about, oh, women can't be teachers. Well, what did you say to your mother? Your own mother. Was she not your very first teacher? Women are the first teachers, right? And Yahuah designed it to be that way. They are the teacher. They are the first teachers of men. If you have a mother, and all men have a mother, your very first teacher was a woman, right? So I can't even understand how can you even carry that thought out of your mind to flow through your lips? Your first teacher was a woman, your mama. Okay. So we're going to read Susanna too, because it is a part of Daniel, right? Okay. So we'll begin to see the perfect balance that Yahuah has always had through and through. It should be a perfect, beautiful picture. As a youth, Daniel gave evidence of his wisdom when he convicted two old sinners of having testified falsely against Susanna, as beautiful as she was good. Misled by the perjured witness, the court had condemned Susanna to death. Then Daniel, impelled by a higher power, appeared among the people, proclaimed the wrong that had been done, and demanded that the case be reopened. Oh, that's what I was going to say, the whole point of bringing it up. and you will see through some of these old manuscripts that when the women actually cry out to Yah, Yahuwah answers them, especially if they were being accused of something that they didn't do. Like in the case of Susanna was completely innocent. There are a few more here. They were completely innocent and they had no other recourse. And it even has their prayer in there. Father, you know I am innocent in this. But her next step was literally death, like walking her to the gallows. Like, you have to, if there is no interceding here, I'm going to die today and I need you to do something for me. You know I am innocent in all these things, right? And whereby Daniel heard about it and he stopped the execution and caused her case to be reopened, like literally saved her from death at the moment she was dying that day, right? So, but yeah, that's what I wanted to say. When women cry out, especially when they're innocent, Yahuwah hears you and he fights for you, right? Ooh, we doing your mama jokes now. Oh, when I said your mama. Oh, that's funny. I guess, yeah. That's funny. Okay. Then, hold on. Let me just start over this portion. As a youth, Daniel gave evidence of his wisdom when he convicted two old sinners of having testified falsely against Susanna, as beautiful as she was good. Wait a minute, Isaiah. Misled by the perjured witnesses, the court had condemned Susanna to death. Then Daniel, impelled by a higher power, appeared among the people, proclaimed the wrong that had been done, and demanded that the case be reopened. And so it was. Daniel himself cross-questioned the witnesses one after the other. The same questions were addressed to both, and as the replies did not agree with the other, the false witnesses stood condemned, and they were made to suffer the penalty they would have had the court inflict upon their victim. Daniel's high position. So once Daniel cross-examined those two gentlemen, which were a part of the king's court, they were two of his servants, two of his highest servants that the people got wisdom from all the time. So when they went in there, they got their stories together and they said, oh, well, they gonna believe us. And they ain't nobody gonna believe that us, the wise old council, would ever lie. And that's exactly what happened until Yahuwah sent Daniel. They're gonna get away with murder if you don't go, Daniel. You know. But listen, the whole point was they was mad because Susanna, she was beautiful. They were pissed because Susanna would not sleep with them. Like, they plotted on Susanna for days, spying her out, catching her, watching her, seeing when her maidens come in. It tells you the story. They plotted until the time when they caught her by herself and locked themselves in there. And they said, you're going to sleep with both of us. And if you don't, we're going to say that you were in here with another man. And all they had their story together. And they almost got away with it. Had not Yahuwah spoken to Daniel to go this. Like, they made this beautiful, pious woman look like a complete slut. And I'm just like, oh, you know, and Yahuwah defended her. Listen. So they wanted her to have a horrible death. But that same death that they planned for her, because they were pissed because she didn't sleep with the both of them, they suffered that same death. Daniel's high position in the state dates from the time when he interpreted Nebuchadnezzar's dream. The king said to the astrologers and magicians, I know my dream, but I do not want to tell you what it is, else you will invent anything at all and pretend it is the interpretation of the dream. But if you tell me the dream, then I shall have confidence in your interpretation of it. After much talk between Nebuchadnezzar and his wise men, they confessed that the king's wish might have been fulfilled if but the temple had still existed. The high priest at Jerusalem might have revealed the secret by consulting the Urim and the Thummim. At this point, the king became wrathful against his wise men who had advised him to destroy the temple, though they must have known how useful it might become to the king and the state. He ordered all of them to execution. Their life was saved by Daniel, who recited the king's dream and gave its interpretation. The king was so filled with admiration of Daniel's wisdom that he paid him divine honors. Daniel, however, refused such extravagant treatment. He did not desire to be the object of idolatrous veneration. he left Nebuchadnezzar in order to escape the marks of honor thrust upon him, and repaired to Tiberias, where he built a canal. Besides, he was charged by the king with commissions to bring fodder for cattle to Babylonia, and also swine from Alexandria. All right, so now we're about to talk about the 3 men in the furnace, the 3 Hebrew boys. During Daniel's absence, Nebuchadnezzar set up an idol, and its worship was exacted from all his subjects under penalty of death by fire. The image could not stand on account of the disproportion between its height and its thickness. The whole of the gold and silver captured by the Babylonians in Jerusalem was needed to give it steadiness. All the nations owing the rule of Nebuchadnezzar, including even Israel, obeyed the royal command to worship the image. Only the 3 pious companions of Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, resisted the order. In vain, Nebuchadnezzar urged upon them as an argument in favor of idolatry that the Hebrews had been so devoted to heathen practices before the destruction of Jerusalem that they had gone to Babylonia for the purpose of imitating the idols there and bringing the copies they made to Jerusalem. The 3 saints would not hearken to these seductions of the king, nor when he referred them to such authorities as Moses and Jeremiah in order to prove them that they were under obligation to do the royal bidding. They said to him, "Thou art our king in all that concerns service, taxes, poll money, and tribute, but with respect to thy present command, thou art only Nebuchadnezzar. Therein thou and the dogs are alike unto us. Bark like a dog, inflate thyself like a water bottle, and chirp like a cricket." Now Nebuchadnezzar's wrath transcended all bound, and he ordered the 3 to be cast into a red-hot furnace, so hot that the flames of its fire darted to the height of 49 ells beyond the oven, and consumed the heathen standing about it. No less than 4 nations were thus exterminated. While the 3 saints were being thrust into the furnace, they addressed a fervent prayer to Yahuah, supplicating his grace toward them and entreating him to put their adversaries to shame. The angels desired to descend and rescue the 3 men in the furnace, but Yahuah forbade it. Did the 3 men act thus for your sakes? Nay, they did it for me, and I will save them with my own hands. Yahuah also rejected the good offices of Urkami, the angel of hell, who offered to extinguish the fire in the furnace. The angel Gabriel justly pointed out that such a miracle would... Hey, guys, y'all gotta...
Mom,
yes.
is that guessing my skates?
No, you're not going to get your skates. Dad is going to get your skates. Zay, move.
Please take my skates.
No,
please.
your dad, he's moving around. He'll be out there in a second. He'll get them for you. Listen.
Aww.
The angel Gabriel justly pointed out that such a miracle would not be sufficiently striking to arrest attention. His own proposition was accepted. He, the angel of fire, was deputed to snatch the 3 men from the red-hot furnace. He executed his mission by cooling off the fire inside the oven, while on the outside the heat continued to increase to such a degree that the heathen standing around the furnace were consumed. The 3 youths thereupon raised their voices together in a hymn of praise to Yahuah, thanking him for his miraculous help. The Chaldeans observed the 3 men pacing up and down quietly in the furnace, followed by the 4th angel, Gabriel. Remember we talked about this before? I think I mentioned it. I definitely know me and my mom, my sister were talking about it. You know how in improper church teaching will tell you that that was JC inside the furnace. It wasn't. It was the angel Gabriel, right? And King Nebuchadnezzar, and the way that they worded the King James Version, and it says that one of them looks like what it says, the Son of God. That's not what it says. There was a improper translation of that, because King Nebuchadnezzar knew who it was inside of the furnace with the 3 boys. How do we know that? Because he makes mention of it, because Gabriel showed up before in one of the wars and he recognized this angel. Let's see. The Chaldeans observed the three men pacing up and down quietly in the furnace, followed by a fourth, the angel Gabriel, as by an attendant. Nebuchadnezzar, who hastened thither to see the wonder, was stunned with fright, for he recognized Gabriel to be the angel in the guise of a column of fire had blasted the army of Sennacherib. That's right, it was Sennacherib. 6 other miracles happened, all of them driving terror to the heart of the king. The fiery furnace, which had been sunk in the ground, raised itself into the air. It was broken. The bottom dropped out. The image erected by Nebuchadnezzar fell prostrate. Four nations were wasted by fire, and Ezekiel revived the dead in the valley of Dura. Of the last, Nebuchadnezzar was appraised in a peculiar way. He had a drinking vessel made of the bones of a slain Hebrew. When he was about to use it, life began to stir in the bones, and a blow was planted in the king's face, while a voice announced, "A friend of this man is at this moment reviving the dead." Nebuchadnezzar now offered praise to Yahuah for the miracles performed, and if an angel had not quickly struck him with a blow on his mouth and forced him into silence, his psalms of praise would have excelled the Psalter of David. No, King, you don't get to praise. I like this. This is reserved for King David. Shut it up. I'll read that again. Of the last miracle that King Nebuchadnezzar experienced, Nebuchadnezzar was appraised in a peculiar way. He had a drinking vessel made of the bones of a slain Hebrew. When he was about to use it, life began to stir in the bones, and a blow was planted in the king's face, while a voice announced, "A friend of this man is at this moment reviving the dead." Nebuchadnezzar now offered praise to Yahuah for the miracles performed, and if an angel had not quickly struck him with a blow on his mouth and forced him into silence, his psalms of praise would have excelled the Psalter of David. The deliverance of the 3 pious young men was a brilliant vindication of their ways, but at the same time, it caused great mortification to the masses of the Hebrew people who had complied with the order of Nebuchadnezzar to worship his idol. Like, out of all my people, we got only 4, including Daniel, but Daniel wasn't there when this went down. We got only 3 people that stood and say, "King, be thou as it may. You can do whatever you want to us, but we will not be bowing to you this day," right? Nobody but these 3 stood up, which is why they were saved from the fire, where everybody else, go ahead and do what Master say. Oh, go ahead and bow. Go ahead and do what Master say so we can keep our life. Nobody else had the faith to believe in Yah. Even up to your death, you didn't have the faith that he could come save you, right? May we all get ourselves in check on what we truly believe, because what we truly believe comes out when times get tough, when things get short, danger is impending. What's in you surfaces to the top, and you can really see. And a lot of times, I believe Yahuah allows those things to happen, myself included. Right? Yahuah already can see what's on the inside of us, but I believe he allows those situations to happen so we can see what's on the inside of us. Whew, I thought I got rid of that. Oh my gosh, Father help me. I thought I trusted you more than that. I was only 3 of them. Everybody else bowed to Massa. The deliverance of the 3 pious young men was a brilliant vindication of their ways, but at the same time, it caused great mortification to the masses of the Hebrew people who had complied with the order of Nebuchadnezzar to worship his idol. Accordingly, when the 3 men left the furnace, which they did not do until Nebuchadnezzar invited them to leave, the heathen struck all the Hebrews they met in the face, deriding them at the same time. "You who have so marvelous a God pay homage to an idol?" The 3 men thereupon left Babylonia and went to Palestine, where they joined their friend, the high priest Joshua. Their readiness to sacrifice their lives for the honor of Yahuah had had been all the more admirable as they had been advised by the prophet Ezekiel that no miracle would be done for their sakes. When the king's command to bow before the idol was published, the three men were appointed to act as the representatives of the people. Hananiah and his companions resorted to Daniel for his advice. He referred them to the prophet Ezekiel, who counseled flight, citing his teacher Isaiah as his authority. The three men rejected his advice and declared themselves ready to suffer the death of martyrs. Ezekiel bade them to tarry until he inquired of Yahuah whether a miracle would be done for them. The words of Yahuah were, I shall not manifest myself as their savior. They caused my house to be destroyed, my place to be burnt, my children to be dispersed among the heathen, and now they appeal for my help. As I live, I will not be found of them. Instead of discouraging the three men, this answer but infused a new spirit and resolution in them, and they declared with more decided emphasis than before that they were ready to meet their death. Yahuah consoled the weeping prophet by revealing to him that he would save the three saintly heroes. He had sought to restrain them from martyrdom only to let their piety and steadfastness appear the brighter. On the account of their piety, it became customary to swear by the name of him who supports the world on three pillars, the pillars being the saints Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Their deliverance from death by fire worked a great effect upon the disposition of the heathen. They were convinced of the uselessness of their idols, and with their own hands, they destroyed them. All right, beautiful people, we're going to stop here for today. We'll pick this back up with Ezekiel reviving the dead, right? Okay, so we stopped on page 480, and we started on page 478. All right, beautiful people. So it is Monday, April the 12th, 2021. I'll put it right here. I ain't got no space. April the 12th, 2021, Monday, day 125 of year 3 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 3-year consecutive day count, day 794. We read 1 Kings, chapter 4, 5, and 6, and we just finished reading the Legends of the Jews, page 478 through 480, reading about Daniel and the 3 Hebrew boys, right? Okay, so let's go ahead over here and do the, oh my gosh. Y'all, we didn't do the Shema. Let's do the Shema and let's do the blessing. Oh my gosh. Y'all didn't catch me. Ain't nobody say Shema, Pam. Shema. Maybe I did. I didn't look out to see. Oh, Father, forgive me. Y'all, we supposed to do the Shema first. Let's do the Shema. We should have been done at the beginning, right? To get everybody's attention. Listen. The Shema is found in Deuteronomy chapter 6. Oh my gosh. Starting at verse 3. And the Shema is to get your attention, to remind you of what Yahuah tells us here. Therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with you, and that you may increase mightily, as Yahuah, the God of our fathers, has promised us, in the land that flows with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahuah, our God, he is one God, and you shall love Yahuah your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes, and you shall write them on the posts of your house and on your gates. And Yahuah commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahuah our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do these commandments before Yahuah our God as he has commanded us. And remember, the sign upon the hand represents the action. They shall be as frontlets between your eyes. That represents that brain inside that big dome of what you can't see, your thoughts, right? Because remember, thoughts drive action. And you shall write them upon the posts of your house and on your gates, meaning you command your house in the ways of Yahuah, right? So that you may make your way prosperous before you. He said you talk about them to your children. When you sit in your house, when you walk down the road, when you lie down before they're about to go to bed, you talk about Yah, and you keep his name first and great, and teach your children of his ways, whereby they will be blessed in all they do, right? You ain't got to be super spiritual and just call out his name in every single thing. Like we see some people just overly do it. In the church sector, I know I come from there. So I know from experience how it's done. You ain't got to do that. And you ain't got to curse people out religiously. God bless you. I'm like, oh, when I see people do that, I was like, you know what? Y'all gonna get you for that. Because you said that in a way that you shouldn't have said that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the blessing, which is found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. Remember, the Nazarite vow is the first 21 verses of chapter 6. Anybody can take the Nazarite vow, man or woman. It should not be taken lightly, right? And you should think about it for a while before you choose to do it. Make sure you can comply with the rules and regulations, which everybody can. It's just your own personal willpower and your determination to set yourself apart from alcohol, from anything that come from the grapevine, from putting scissors to your hair, touching a dead body, because all those things will cause you to break your vow. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto Aaron and unto his sons, saying, On this wise ye shall bless the children of Israel, saying unto them, May Yahuwah bless us and keep us. May Yahuwah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. May Yahuwah lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. Okay. Double check real quick. Any questions? Joanne, Yatai Israel. Okay. Yeah, I've seen a couple of her videos. Actually, I just learned about her not too long. I would say in the last month. She was recommended in my feed. I guess because some of my chapters got Enoch in it. I noticed she was doing some of the same studying. Yeah, so they done pretty much got on track with some of the stuff. As for the 13th month, I'm not sure how they getting that. Like I said, I could have overlooked something. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Oh, yeah. Talking about the spiritual realms with our natural realms clashing in our ancestors' times must have been like living in a Harry Potter movie in real life, where even our enemies were able to see Gabriel. I know, right? I believe a lot of that stuff. As Israel is waking up, realizing who we are, and watching who will stand and fight for us again, as Israel realizes who she is and begins to cry out to him. I believe the world again is going to begin seeing some of those supernatural things, right? Yeah, so all right, beautiful people. All right, we out here. Gotta go. Love y'all. Thanks for hanging out with me today while I stand my watch. I see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early. Remember, watching out for the new moon. If she shows herself, the Sabbath cycle will begin over with the new month, right? Remember, the Sabbaths line up with the new moon days. New moons are the line leaders for the Sabbaths. All right, y'all. Love y'all. I'll see y'all in the morning, bright and early. Peace. 7:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're welcome, everybody.
Now can I